I'm Scott L. Miller. It is Tuesday, the 10th of May, 2022, and this is my daily vlog of life. As a world traveler, I'm here in Friendswood, Texas, a suburb of Houston, where we are going to be for just about 5 more days before we head back to Costa Rica, and from there on to Nicaragua. It is Tuesday, so today is a work day, and for the most part, my day was boring. Just that, everyone's at school today, or whether teaching or I guess at school or work, and I just worked from the house. I've got my laptop, so then that's what I'm going to be doing all week. I'm set up in the kitchen or in the dining room and just working as usual, as best as I can from the laptop. And you'll notice all the videos coming out this week look a little bit different, but they look fine. They're just edited a little bit differently because I'm editing on Shotcut instead of editing on Final Cut Pro. I do get some cool features with Shotcut, and I'm actually really happy with the performance now that I've got it figured out on the latest versions. I've got it doing automatic proxy files, which makes things pretty easy for me. And I've got it working with my NVIDIA hardware for rendering, and got it running in parallel now. All things are kind of experimental, and in the past have not really worked on my laptop, and now they work and they're really fast. So getting the hardware and coding working on there was a pretty big success for me, and I'm very happy about that. So that's pretty cool, and it definitely makes it pretty easy to use. There's a lot of the graphic features. You notice like my titles have changed since not using Final Cut, and that's something that I miss. It's much better in Final Cut. I'm using a combo sneeze edit to get across the intersection while avoiding sneezing on camera. That was an interesting need to edit there for a moment. I'm walking through Friendswood and in a different part of the neighborhood than I've been in for other episodes, so just more of what it looks like here in Texas. Actually, I'm going to swing the camera around because I've got the lavalier on, so I'm safe to be able to show you what I'm seeing while I walk, and the audio keeps on working. I do like the lavalier. That is pretty cool. Overall, I know I haven't gotten feedback yet because these videos have not yet posted, but I obviously see them while I'm editing them, and I am very happy with the new audio coming off of the new mic. I think this is a big boost to the channel. I'm just a lot more clear, and you're getting a lot less background noise and wind and everything. I think it's gonna just in general make it a lot more pleasant and more easy to understand and watch. So definitely give me your feedback, and while doing so, remember to like, subscribe, hit that bell so you get the alarm when a new episode drops, and share on social media. Put us on Facebook or wherever, because I don't have Facebook, so I need you guys to do that for me. But the channel keeps growing, so thank you so much. So today I don't have a lot to talk about. We're pretty much just hunkered down here in Texas and relaxing, and when we can, spending time with the family, but we don't get a lot of time to do that because they're stuck at work or school all week long. So we, the Millers, are in the house most of the day, just us. Dominica's parents are here, but they have a lot of errands to run during the day, so we only see them so much. Dominica and I did go to Taco Bell today, and she did get to check out the magic veggie menu on the electronic thing that I was talking about, so we were excited about that. She was like, okay, I do want to go to Taco Bell and go inside and check out the menu, and she's like, this is pretty cool. So that was fun. But overall, not a lot to talk about, and I don't have a lot of travel stuff to talk about. Now remember, in 2 days, Kat is going to be joining us, so I'm going to do some interviews with her just before we go to Costa Rica. She's going to see Costa Rica for the first time, then she's going to see Nicaragua for the first time. There's a lot of first-time stuff for Kat. That's going to be really cool. Today I'm going to do something completely different because I talk about travel way too much and cameras some. And just a moment, I'm going to, before I go on to what I'm going to talk about, I just want to talk about all the new camera gear that came today. I did get my first ever slider. It's a small slider, a really cheap one, and it's a combo unit with a bunch of things. I'm going to turn around. There's someone doing construction right there. It's a little bit loud. And so I've never had a slider before, but I've wanted one for a long time. This is an automated device that allows me to move the camera really slowly without me having to touch it. It basically lets me do, it's not very useful for this channel, but I'm hoping to be able to use it for things like product videos, which may not sound like something I would normally do, and it's not in general, but with the hotel, we would like to do a lot of promotional stuff for the hotel, for the restaurant, and so forth, and that's going to let us, I think, do some cool stuff with that. I think it'll be fun to play with, and it has some other features too, such as a built-in panorama mode, all on a fairly cheap device. So this is my chance to learn about using sliders. So I'm really excited about that. Also, and the big item, this is the piece de resistance of our entire trip as far as items go, is the Blackmagic Atom Mini Pro arrived today. This is the board that's gonna enable us to do multi-camera live feeds to multiple services all at once, and the idea is that we're going to do it from the hotel, from the Simple Beach Lodge, Simple Bar and Grill, and Simple Surf, where we've been having live events. But we're already in the process of getting ready to have live events at our new bar and restaurant, Bar Los Mangos, in El Viejo, in the Departamento Chinandega up north. Well, still out west, but north of Leon. So we're talking about probably setting this up so where we can run it up to Bar Los Mangos, broadcast events from up there, and then come down to Las Peñitas and do events from there. So I'm hoping I can get a lot of use out of it, justify a lot of equipment and a lot of cameras and stuff, because if I can justify it, I get to keep buying them, and you may have noticed I like camera gear a lot. So I'm very, very excited to get to play with this, and I can't play with it here because it requires an Ethernet setup and cameras and a bunch of configuration, stuff I can't do casually in the house, especially because I don't have any Ethernet setup. So once we're back in Nicaragua, I'm going to get that set up and start really playing with that in earnest. It's going to have quite a learning curve. I got to have laptops to hook up to it with software to configure it. Like, there's a lot to do. I've got to get online services configured. It's going to be complex, but I'm very much excited about the prospects of what we're going to be able to do with it, both the fun videography and the value to the hotel and bars. I got some extra cases and some small things. That's the majority of what we've gotten so far as new things. We're really not buying that much on this trip. Some new shirts for sure, stuff like that, but not things to really mention. And you may have noticed I wore a new shirt the last 3 or 4 days in a row, each day a new shirt, because we got several new ones, and I'm taking advantage of the fact that we didn't bring a lot of laundry with us, and so we were counting on buying some new ones here. Okay, so all that said, that's the news and stuff. I'm going to give a little bit of news about me, because it's something different on the channel, and I mean, this is my daily vlog, so a quick thing that people, we'll see, that people don't really know about me, but is a really major part of who I am, is I've always had this, but when I was about 23 or 24, I was officially diagnosed as having trichotillomania. And what this is, it is a maniacal disorder related to OCD that basically means I have an obsessive compulsive disease that forces me to seek out and be bothered by, I guess, skin blemishes. And people think of trichotillomania as being a disease that causes you to rip out your hair, and for the most part that is true. That is how it manifests itself, because your body tends to, or maybe not your body, but your brain tends to sense hair, especially if it's a little bit different or in a spot that you don't normally have it, like a beard or eyebrows or something, will feel like it is a skin blemish, like something is wrong or different, and your brain wants your skin to be perfect and smooth. From a touch perspective, it's hard to describe a little bit, but if you have OCD of any sort and you have that traditional desire, for example, for everything to be organized on your desk or things to be always in order from biggest to smallest or whatever, you can imagine how that could play out if you were having the same kinds of compulsive feelings about the purity of your skin, the smoothness of your own skin. And it doesn't have to be on your face, of course. That's just the example, because that's the part that is on the camera. So I've had this since I was young, and when I was quite young, I always knew that I had, like, for example, if I ever got a pimple, I obsessively would have to fix it, right? Which would be popping it or whatever. I would have to tear it out, right? It has to go away, and it's obsessive. You can't really get around it. Of course, when I was 5 years old, I had the chicken pox. And as you can imagine, for those who are familiar with chicken pox, I know a lot of people now have not had it and will not have it because of the vaccine. But when I was young, everybody got the chicken pox. And of course, it was impossible to resist. And I have, not a lot, but I have a certain amount of scarring here that you can see in some of the videos for sure. Maybe you can see it now, I don't know. That was from my Trichotillomania driven need to itch or remove. Because it doesn't really force me to do something with an itch, but it does force me to do something with a bump. So that's how it played out in my very young childhood, and how it has left me with some marks that will be there for forever. They're not really big and they don't bother me at all, but that's where they're from. So if you're ever, you know, for my children, when they're investigating this and saying, wow, why did he have the, oh, now it makes sense. I didn't really notice the trichotillomania as a thing that stood out until I was about 18. I never had a beard in high school. My mother had a aversion. She thought that high schoolers should not be allowed to have beards or something. She had some weird, like one of those weird social rules that comes from nowhere about that. And so when I went off to college, well, I finished high school on like probably a Friday. I went to college just 12 days later in Michigan. But like the moment I was done with high school, I started growing out my beard. That was like my first thing, like, aha, I can grow a beard now. And then I grew a beard when I went to college. At some point when I came home from college, I was starting a job somewhere, and I said, oh, I'm gonna, because the beard was a little bit scraggly. You know, I was a teenager, it was my first beard, so it was not the best. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna shave it off. But instead of shaving it off, I actually just went into the bathroom, looked in the mirror, grabbed it, and tore it all out. And it was the best feeling to tear it out, because the hairs in my beard actually are kind of painful to me in a way. And it's not like real pain, but it feels that way. The trichotillomania makes me feel as if blemishes on my skin are kind of painful, and I have a very strong desire to tear them out. So this is something that's affected me my whole life, and it's pretty strong, and I'm constantly fighting it. And one of the reasons that I now have a longer beard is that I found by having a longer beard, it actually minimizes the effect. At some point, the hair stops feeling like a blemish, and it just feels like my hair. And I don't have this problem with the hair on my head. For whatever reason, that does not, I mean, I'm just bald, right? I'm not ripping that out. That's just normal baldness. But for me, my trichotillomania really manifests in kind of this portion of my face, and I've been over the years able to learn a lot about it and redirect it pretty heavily and control it in ways. And I know that I have this. Thankfully, I was young and diagnosed with this, so I had some information. And one of the things they say about it is that they have no known triggers. Like, research says there's nothing you can do to change it. It is what it is, and it simply manifests as it does. I know that that's not true. I've paid attention to it for me, and I know that excessive amounts of caffeine will cause it to be much worse than it is naturally. And I also know that if I let my skin get very dry, that it'll get worse. And if I let my skin get dry, I know that certain portions of my face, like right through here, on both sides, this portion of my face gets drier and makes the hair drier. Makes my hair drier than the rest of my hair. And when that happens, when the hair gets really brittle, when the skin that it's coming from is very dry, it causes me to be like, oh, that's a blemish now, as opposed to the hair just next to it that just feels like soft, normal hair. So that's something I have to watch out for. Keeping my skin and my hair moisturized and conditioned goes a long way to make me not have those compulsive feelings. I have also learned to redirect. I know that like on my ears, you know, everyone has hair in their ears, everyone has hair in their nose. I know you don't want to know. I have learned that in those places where who wants to have hair there? Nobody. If I redirect my compulsive needs to tear out my hair to those places where tearing it out is not a bad thing. Because if I tear out my beard, like, that sucks. You have these big patches where you've torn out your beard. You don't want to do that. And you'll notice that I've been doing this video for years, and I do it every day, and I have no time where I have patches. But I did have an entire decade or more of my life where I could not stop tearing out my beard. And I used to have, if you see pictures of me from a long time ago, in this area, I didn't have beard, and that's because those areas I was not able to stop myself, and I would actually tear out the beard. I no longer have that. I've done a lot to control the obsession, and it is far better than it ever was before, and it just gets better and better as I get older and learn more and more about it and learn to redirect the problems that I have. So it's now I know if I'm feeling like I need to tear hair out, if I'm feeling like something's wrong, I can redirect it to like, oh, I got to find a hair in my ear somewhere that, you know. And then I've also learned that if I have tweezers at hand, I'm able to go deal with it, right? By actually getting a hold of the hair and pulling it out, I will feel so much better. It's a huge relief. And so I maintain a collection of very good tweezers. I know exactly how all of them work, and I'm an expert at pulling out hair. And it may sound like, oh, doesn't that hurt? No, when you have trichotillomania, pulling out your hair is one of the best feelings you can have. It is so much a relief, and there is no pain associated with it. It is just, oh, it feels so much better. It's kind of like when you're really, really thirsty and you finally get a glass of water. That's how it feels, sort of. It's just a relief. So having those tools at my disposal, knowing, and Dominica knows, the kids know, when I suddenly get up, I'll be watching TV and I'll just suddenly get up and run to the bathroom. I don't have a bladder problem. I'm actually going to get the tweezers, which I keep by the mirror, so that I can look in a mirror and quickly get the hair and then come back and do whatever I was doing. Instead of me becoming obsessed with it, it's just a thing I deal with, let it happen, and solve it, and I'm able to move on. So that's one of those things I learned about myself over the years. It's also important to describe that one of the ways that my hair feels to me is that when I get this feeling, it is as if my hair is actually a splinter. So imagine if you had splinters on your face that you didn't do anything to get, they were just there, and you would want to tear them out, right? You would want to grab tweezers, you'd want to get the tweezers out, you would want to get the splinters out with the tweezers, naturally, like that, of course. Well, that's how my body feels about my own hair on my face. And sometimes if I just run my hands through my hair, it is possible, because my hair is very, very stiff and very strong, and very sharp. It's weird. I will actually get hair splinters in my hand sometimes and have to actually take tweezers and pull them out. And it feels in my hand when I actually get a splinter just like it does on my face. It is weird. And that is just one of those things to know about me. So now I have shared something with you that I really never talk about. It's not a secret, obviously, because I just put it on the internet, but it's not something I normally sit around talking about, and most people are not aware of this disorder, and certainly not aware that I have it, but it explains just a large portion of my life. It is something that affects me every day. It's not a once in a while thing. It's not a, a few times in my life I've had an episode. No. This is an everyday thing that affects me all the time. Every time I travel somewhere, I have to gauge, how long will I be gone? Can I go without tweezers? Do I need to bring different tweezers? Where are my tweezers that I'm storing? I'm always worried that I will lose a pair. Like, it's actually a big thing. And I'm always saying, for example, I do have a spot on my left eyebrow where I tend to have a different hair that grows in. Like, it's just, it feels different than the other hairs. And I know that hair is going to bother me. As soon as that one hair comes in, I got to get it out. And the ones around it won't bother me, but that one will. And so I have to know that that's a trigger, and I need to deal with it and be prepared. Did I just get it out? I've got several days before it grows back. I don't have to worry about it. Or I haven't dealt with it recently. It's going to be a problem. I need to be prepared. I have to think about these things. I will, do I go to a mirror and tear out a hair every day? Yes, multiple times every day. That is just how it is. But if I make it fast and efficient and have the tools at my disposal to take care of it, that's all it is. It's just 1 minute, run into the bathroom, look in the mirror, take a tweezer, get whatever hair seems wrong. And sometimes it's a grooming thing. Sometimes I'll get like hair up here. They don't bother me so much, but as soon as I see it in the mirror, I'm like, oh, it makes me feel better to just have a more perfect beard. Not that I have a perfect beard by any stretch, but it's hard to describe exactly how my body reacts to the imperfections, but you get used to it. So it's a very major part of my life, and one that people who know me really closely in person all the time just get used to and kind of just forget that it's going on, I assume. So yeah, That's me. Remember to like and subscribe. Ask your questions. Trichotillomania is something that people just do not talk about very much. If you have trichotillomania or know someone with it or just have questions, go for it. We'll be seeing Kat in 2 days. I'll see Jeremy in 3 days, and we'll be off to Costa Rica in 5 days. I'll see you all tomorrow.